Hi, everybody. Welcome to No Doctor, Just Healthy. I tried to do a lead in to this video. I don't know if I'm going to be able to post it. I'll try, but I'm not good at that stuff yet. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn how to cut and paste and all that stuff. But, anyways, right now, I am just being a healthy guy. I was just out riding my electric unicycle. That's what I was trying to show in the beginning of the video. But for some reason I don't think it's gonna tie together. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, um, dawn effect happens every morning. Dawn effect. It has a lot of there's a lot going on with that, and I think that we need to know more about it. That's what I think. But there's so many things. Like for instance, as soon as I was thinking about doing that for the video today, I asked the computer, "What's the most common time of the day for heart attacks?" And she answered immediately, between 6 a.m. and noon. And I, my favorite uncle died at like 6 a.m. So I go, oh, huh, how about that? But I don't know if you notice. Do you notice that your heart is beating sometimes, kind of rapidly in the morning? Doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack, but it might, but that's part of the dawn effect. And it was kind of funny. I was watching these doctors on the internet, like I do all the time, because I'm not this smart. I have to get it from them. But there's one, and I'm going to let his name out because I haven't been doing that. And I'm thinking, well, why not? This guy is so insightful, or he's so educated, and he's so busy in this work. And I've been watching him since he had a full beard and a full head of hair, writing on a blackboard. That was back in the old days. There were blackboards, and it had a wooden frame around it and a chalkboard, and chalk and powder and all that stuff. And he was talking to a classroom that was young adults sitting in those classroom chairs that have a little desk connected to them. It was like cool. But anyway, I'm thinking he was maybe in a junior college or something. But he was talking about metabolic health, and now, oodles of years later, he's talking about metabolic health, and I really appreciate him. His name's Stein, Sten. How do you say that in German? I suppose I don't know. Steen Ekberg, and Ekberg, I think. If I got it right, Steen Ekberg, and he's on YouTube, and he's of course just like with me, you can subscribe to either pages, both of our pages, and see all of our old videos. And I think that would be a really good way to keep tying your thoughts together about health. But I've been having trouble sticking to my diet, and I've talked about it in a number of videos because once I start cheating with carbohydrates or sugar, I just can't stop. And I've really got it down to slow. It's just that I am horribly addicted to carbs. Carbs. Are you? How about you? Can you eat a carb and then not have another carb for a week? Like can you have one bottle of Pepsi and then not have another one for a week? You should try that sometimes. Prove to yourself that you're perfectly fine. But chances are, the way we're brought up, we've got uh, fancy schmancy, wild and crazy breakfast cereals, heart healthy, they say on the front, loaded with sugar. We put sugar in everything. I mean, I used to have toast with sugar on it. you know, butter and sugar, and that was fine, you know. And then a little while later, mom's telling me to calm down. So the sugar was working. But anyways, but this AM thing, every morning when you wake up, it's not just heartbeat. You know, maybe it doesn't. You know, maybe it's not going fast, but maybe it is. But the thing is, we generally want to head out and have breakfast. I don't know about everybody, but it used to be that way. You know, I used to want to get up and have my coffee and my breakfast. Well, that's not what that morning effect is built for. That dawn effect is built to keep us alive, not to get us fed. Not to get us fed right now. First we have to get food. You know, back in the old days, 1,000 years ago, whatever it was, when we woke up in the cave, it was time to go out and kill something and get some food. You know, and and it was necessary. So our body says, "Get up, get going," and everything about like the heart beating and the sugar spikes that we get in the mornings. Um, these are and cortisol shooting up and firing up your brain and all this stuff getting going. This is all meant to make you go out there and run down some animal and feed the family. And and then it's not limited to just men. Everybody else is involved in all this. You know, you got to get fires to going. You know, you got to get things cleaned. You know, you got to you know, debone a fish or something or whatever. But you got to get all this stuff going, and everybody is on the same page 1,000 years ago. I don't even know if it's that long. If it's 500 years ago, but everybody's on the same page. And like I mean, just at my age, when I was a little kid, I remember Esther hollering, "Go get some wood." She would just all she would do have to holler that out one time, and I would leave the house and go out and collect the wood and come back in the house. She didn't she didn't have to kick me out and make me go and threaten me and take away my phone. It was like, go get the wood. It was like, yes, you know, and I'm get, getting all the we had a big wood stove, and she was getting it going. So this stuff counts. But anyways, um, that's the way things used to be. And now today, when we wake up like that, it's just too easy to just go out and sit down at the table and have a cup of coffee and pour some cream in it because it's already right there in the refrigerator, you know, and uh, do these things and have some toast because the electric toaster will just whip it right out for you. And then all of a sudden you turn on the electric grill and throw in some hopefully it's bacon and eggs, and because that's a actual healthy breakfast. If you eat that and skip the toast and skip the potatoes, you won't be hungry at 10 o'clock. You know, let's say this is 8 o'clock. You know, you won't be hungry at 10 o'clock. You'll be able to go to lunch without being hungry. And if you get good at eating no carbs and eating high fat, like like that breakfast is, especially the eggs part, they're so good for us. And the thing about the cholesterol doesn't matter. Our brains are really heavy in cholesterol. The cholesterol they have to have it to keep the um, pathways all coded and functioning happy. It's like if you cut out all the cholesterol, like I feel like they used to feed me statins and they made me feel awful. And I quit. I quit taking them altogether. And what happens is when you get rid of, to me, when you get rid of all the cholesterol, get your numbers like way down there. We want you 105, or whatever the stupid number is. It's a made up number, anyways. But it's kind of like stripping all the insulation off of electric wiring. The wiring still works, but it's dangerous as hell. It's the same thing with the passageways in your brain. They might still work, but they're on the verge of shorting out. You know, and hurting you. So it's something to worry about. But anyways, and and another thing. Okay, so that's that. And then food. I mentioned it a little bit, but food, we so worry about. I don't know. Seems like so many people worry about it, about being hungry or not being able to get fed later or something. But uh, it's this is kind of a touchy subject because it, it's it just seems different for different people. But I'll tell you what, if I don't eat carbohydrates, like right now, I tell you, like I'm cheating on my diet. Well, that's what I cheat on. Is I eat sweet rolls. I really like those, but they call me because they're full of sugar, you know. But the thing is, if I eat any sugar like that stuff in the evening, I wake up in the morning hungry, so I got to eat. And of course, if I'm cheating, well, then I eat the wrong food. Like French toast with syrup on it. And that's wrong. That's wrong for a healthy life. And I'm getting back into the routine. I my blood sugar level yesterday was 110, and that is perfectly good. It was in the morning after it was an hour after I got up. That's when you need to take it in the morning because you get the spike in the morning. Well, as long as like I'll take it sometimes and read the spike on when it's on its way up, like the first couple of minutes you're awake, it's going up, and then take it an hour later and it's gone down. Well, your insulin's working, so that's a good thing. I don't think mine used to work. I didn't get into work studying that until I was getting a lot healthier. But um, when your insulin doesn't work right, you start getting, the fat, because insulin's a fat storage tool. But if you don't have any insulin and you're not spiking it because you're not eating carbohydrates, the storage tool goes away, takes the fat with it. There's no way for fat to get planted in your cells. That's why we gain so much weight so fast when we cheat on this diet. Which this diet, I don't know. I got to say it's the best diet, but that covers the Mediterranean diet. They're in there, and I just can't recall some of the others. But there's other ones that work. It's just that the normal way we eat is wrong, just wrong. But anyways, so here we are. So in the morning, because I can, I just skip eating for about 2 hours. That way I get up, the dawn effect goes by, the sugar drops back down to where it's supposed to be, the adrenaline gets back to where it's supposed to be, and the cortisol relaxes. And if I eat now, that's nutrition for my body. But if I eat earlier, that just increases those weirdnesses, like the spiking sugar, the spiking cortisol, the spiking everything, and it just stretches out that dawn effect. But if I don't eat, which is good for everybody, if you don't eat for at least an hour, but 2 hours is really how it counts. You can eat after 2 hours. You know, eggs without bread, is a great thing. But I eat some. when I'm doing my best, I'm eating a few pounds of beef a day, and that's great. Love that stuff. But anyways, that's the way I used to eat on the farm. But anyways, that was good. But this is all this stuff. But this stuff here, glowing clots, I'm trying to learn more about it my own self. But that's good stuff to research if you want to, because they're just in there and they're just laying around, and like for instance, uh, what is it? Calcium pills. I run into people a lot that always ask me about my health because when I'm riding around on that electric unicycle, they say, "How in the world do you do that? By the way, how old are you?" And I say, "Well, I'm 78, and I've been riding this for about 4 or 5 years." And they go, "Really?" And they sometimes a couple, an elderly couple, they say, "He's 78," and it turns out they're both 70 or something like that, and they're holding on to each other as they're walking around. And I, I'm the kind of well that wants to get old. I, I don't have any problems with being older. I'm kind of proud of it. My birthday's coming up in just a couple weeks, and I'll be older again. So I tell my doctor, "Hey, I'm older again, and I'm feeling even better." Not the doctor that I have now. This is a doctor that I fired at the VA hospital. And I'll tell her every chance I get when I see her in a hallway or something. And I think she's really irritated with me, but that's okay. I'm irritated with her. She's supposed to be taking care of me, and she was not doing that. I was so sick when I was under her care. But anyways, that's she gets to live with that. And I'm so shocked, like when she asked me some questions before I fired her, she never wanted to know how I did stuff. For instance, I backed out of type 2 diabetes in 4 months. It was totally absent from my body. And for a half a dozen years under her care, and well, other ones too, after a half a dozen years of being, they called it pre diabetic, I just thought that meant I don't have diabetes. I didn't realize that it's really hurting me, taking out all those little blood capillaries and things that are in your eyes and in your brain, and helping the sheathing fall off of your nerve passages, and um, lowering the power of your muscles, the response to your muscles. And by the way, a heart is a muscle. And by the way, heart failure is the biggest all cause mortality problem today. Um, and I don't have any of those troubles. The last two blood tests I have a new doctor. He is a VA doctor, but he's not at the VA. And he, I'll say it again because I'm kind of happy about this. 2 years ago, I had a blood test there, and he came back in and he's looking at the blood test. He says, "This blood test, this," he says, "if I found this in a hallway and I needed to, it didn't have a name on it, let's say, and he says, and I wanted to give it to somebody. I want to see if somebody just dropped it. I'd look in this waiting room nearby, and he'd say, I'd look at the blood test and look in the room, and he says, I would never pick you." As oh, I'm thinking, oh my God, is it horrible? He said, "This is an outstanding blood test." He says, "I would expect it to belong to a 22-year-old who's really healthy." I went, ah, that's nice, because I remember I proved it. I was bulletproof when I was 22. But this, so anyways, he looked through it, and I talked to him about different things. I asked him different questions about different parts of it, and he says, "No, perfect. No, no, no. kidneys are perfect. Well, on and on. No, blood cells are perfect. And he says, there's nothing here that needs any attention. He says, as a matter of fact, your vitamin D is higher than any patient I've ever seen. My vitamin D was 66 in that, whatever that mode is that they tested in. It's 66. Most people, they're hoping that they get to 20, I think it is, but or at least between 20 and 40. I tell you, I really don't remember, but nobody ever makes it to 40. But I'm 60. My number was 66. And well, part of that's probably because I'm out riding my unicycle and walking around the block. I run with an idea called HIT, high intensity interval training. Run your butt off for 30 seconds, or it can be even 10 seconds till work yourself up. This is the way it works. Anybody can do this. I don't suggest you just get up out of a chair and run like this, but walk, walk one day and then walk really fast one day and then walk really fast and see if you start getting pumped up. It's like, oh, it's pretty tough. Well, that's good. Now you can start to jog. And let's say if you just jog, that's something, but that's not the exercise yet. I just want you to make sure that all your bones and your tendons and your muscles are all happy to be on the same project that you're on, and their heart and, all that kind of stuff, and make sure everything is good because, I am no doctor. And so if you're worried about something that's got to do with your health that seriously, go ahead and talk to your doctor. But I I don't. But I'll tell you, you should. I don't want anybody to hurt themselves. I just recently I felt responsible for hurting a guy. He he saw me riding my electric unicycle, and he's a little younger than me, probably probably quite a bit younger. I bet you he's 45 or something. And um, he saw me riding my electric unicycle, and he thought if I could do it, he could do it. So he went and bought one. And the one that I had was, I have three of them, and this one was my exotic one. Got good suspension in it, and a lot of power, and he went and bought that one, and he rode it 25 feet and busted his foot really bad. Crashed, and he didn't ask anything about learning how to ride it. And I know he didn't look at the videos on the internet because the internet talks about how to ride it. There's a lot of things you do before you even get on it. You got to learn how to move. You got to know how to expect the power and all that stuff. And that was too bad. He wasn't mad at me, but he was mad at himself for just thinking he could just jump on it. So he knew that he screwed up. But I don't want that to happen to anybody. That's awful. He was walking around with a cane, and his family was walking with him, and or one what do you call it? One helper, stretcher. No, gosh, I can't say the word. But anyways, one of those, and uh, so you got to be careful and be safe about this stuff. But high intensity interval training is really not for the people that are really frail. Don't do that yet. You know, get yourself start getting your nutrition up to speed because your nutrition is probably not up to speed. Now, I always like to say, it's okay to eat liver. People, I don't like liver. Well, I'll tell you, liver likes you. And liver is loaded with nutrition. Loaded. That's something to look up. See how much nutrition is in liver, is in liver, and how much nutrition is in chicken. Chicken breast. There you go. That's something people think is good. It's not as good as we think, and it doesn't hold a candle to liver. So So, so see, but if you eat liver once a week and you eat salmon from a fresh or wild caught source once a week, and you can eat hamburger and all that kind of stuff. Since then, it's all okay. And a lot of times that you'll hear people talk about, oh, saturated fat is bad for you. Well, saturated fat is okay until you add carbohydrates to it. So if you're eating a salad with, uh, high sugar dressing on it, that's carbohydrates. And then if your dinner, you're having a salad and you're going to have a steak, well, now you've put the sugar in the steak, and it's not as horrible as it could be, but it isn't perfect. You know, if you want to get really healthy really fast, drop the carbs to down to less than 50 carbs a day. And if you start reading labels, you'll see how many carbs you're getting. Most of the stuff that's really yummy is off the chart, way over 50 a day. But anyways, like the little packets of cream for your coffee at the restaurant. It's at least at one carb per. So there's three of them or four of them with their couple of cups of coffee. And then they got their margarine, butter. Can't believe it's human, but there's a lot of stuff. The rolls, those wonderful rolls. It's carbs, all carbs. So it's got to be in a big adjustment. And I say people don't adjust to a new way of health until their old way has let them down big time. So you need to get down to the suffering part probably before you get serious. But like I did, but I got better, and I'm getting better all the time. So thanks a lot. Thanks for being here.